Hello, Tom DeWetner, the conversationalist. Like, subscribe, go crazy, comment, ring the bell. How was everybody's New Year? Everybody healthy, happy? I hope so. It was a cold one here, and right now we have these whiteouts. They call them lake effect snows, and they come through and they dump a either 5 inches, 6 inches, and then they blow away. And about an hour later, another one comes in and drops 2 inches. It's very exciting. Anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the world. Seems like everybody's lost their minds. Is there so much frustration going on in this world that people are acting out? I don't know. Let's take a look at it. First off, let's go over to London. We have absolute riots going on in London. Do you know that? Have you looked it up? Muslim riots calling for Sharia law. Isn't that amazing? I'm like blown away. You came to London and England and for a better life as a asylum seeker, and now you want to make it into a Muslim country. Scary. Uh, WHO, World Health Organization, they got their head up again. They're planning a lot of things. I see that Mr. Gates poured a ton of money into the UN, which poured a lot of money into the WHO. What's he doing? It's a little scary when I see him pumping off, not millions, but billions of dollars around. You can buy a lot of souls for that. Let's talk about this guy in New Orleans. You're telling me in 5 weeks he went from a decorated soldier to a jihadist? That's hard to believe. That's very hard to believe that somebody was converted that quick. But, you know, I guess it can happen. I really don't understand it, but I understand this. That was one frustrated dude. If you were watching his videos, he was frustrated long before he drove down that street and killed all those people. Same thing with the guy in the Tesla truck. What was his story? Come on, give me some background on this guy. I don't really want to know why. First off, would you drive your truck up? Well, he rented it from that person to person rental site. Um, well, why would you pack it full of explosives, drive up and blow it up, and not leave a manifesto or some kind of information about yourself? And how did those documents survive? They weren't burned up in that inferno. And I know you guys saw the inferno, right? It was that was a hot fire. So there's a lot of questions about that. What about that black female FBI agent? Within 15 minutes of the news conference starting, she declared it not a terrorism action. Within 15 minutes. The mayor spoke, the chief spoke, and then she spoke, and she said, this is not a terror related incident. Look it up. I've watched it about 4 times just to make sure I got the sequencing right. So that's suspicious. I mean, anybody, even a patrolman, knows you don't make definitive statements as the crime is being investigated. It's just not what you do. You reserve any kind of statement until you have all the details, right? So that's the way I was taught. What about the things going on at Capitol Hill? So we have our first openly transgender male to female uh, congressperson. And then they put out an order saying she can't use the women's bathroom. She got to use the men's bathroom. I shit you not. Look it up. They passed it within an hour. Biden. Oh my God. You see all the videos coming out from 20 and 30 years ago about Biden? He said he had 3 degrees and top of his law class at Syracuse University. And it was all a lie. So he's been lying for the last 40 years. Oh my goodness. Jimmy Carter died. He wasn't much of a president, but he was a decent human being. You know, the guy just didn't have it to be president. Did not have that killer instinct, but he sure has made it up afterwards. That man was into everything, and he stayed true to his God and to his family. You can't ask more than that, especially with having Biden and the Biden children. And now what Biden's doing with executive orders and spending money like he's a drunken sailor. Kind of laughed today. We were at Dunkin' Donuts and we were all saying, by the time Trump gets in, there's not going to be anything but a sign on the door saying repossessed. Welcome to the White House. You got a $14 trillion bill to pay until you can move in. What about the dynamic duo, as I'm calling them? Elliot, uh, Elon Musk, and Xiaomi. Come on, these guys are spitting it out. I mean, every day they both get on there, different times, different places in the country they are, but they get on there and they tell you the next thing they're going to do. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, I think I think they're going to do some good for us, but I got a feeling it's a little too late. We're going to just have to scrap it and rebuild. I don't think we can save it unless we get a lot of cooperation. It doesn't look like there's much cooperation on Capitol Hill for this, and there sure is not in the bureaucracy. They don't want to lose their money making, cushy, non come to work job. Uh, the incinerators, little small article, probably 10 sentences. The incinerators at the Pentagon have been going on for almost 4 weeks now. All you can see is black smoke pouring out of it. Wonder what is being burned. I hope they got a heating system connected to it so we just don't waste all that good paper. Maybe we should look into that and get them to stop burning documents. Oh, I guess all the people in charge of the departments are waving the flag of surrender and saying that I serve at the president's. Yeah, well, guess what? You got about 17 days. See, this is what I told you back in December. Get out, take your retirement, go away quietly. Elon Musk told you he'd give you a severance, a, a heavy severance pay package just to go away. And everybody laughed at him. Well, now we're down to the nitty gritty. You can't get your paperwork processed that fast between now and when Trump gets in. Deportations. See the people streaming across the border, the southern border? Yeah, it's pretty amazing that the crowd is going into Mexico and not to the United States. That's a nice feeling. But I figured it out. I went down the rabbit hole. And if they were in the United States and have a United States driver's license or their green card, they can go across the border, re-register, and they're expediting the background checks, and they can be back within 2 days and not, obviously not lose their job or their house or their apartment, whatever it is. And I believe in that. If you're, even if you're an illegal alien, you got a full time job and you're paying taxes and you're abiding by the law, quickly abiding by the law. Remember that. Uh, yeah, I think you're a contributing person to society. I don't worry about you. The guy I worry about is the one that comes across the border and then disappears. We never see him again until 7 years later. He's on his third rape conviction. Hello, we got these guys pushing people on the tracks under subway cars. We got these gang rapes going on, and it's not just, I kind of cringe when everybody says, "Yeah, the gangs are raping American women." Well, in most cases, other immigrants, guys, they're raping females that came across the border and in these shelters. That's the majority of what's going on. When they do rape an American citizen, then the flag goes up and everybody starts saluting. But rape is rape, guys, you know? Now that I brought that topic up, we need to talk about frustrations. The new Harris poll is out, and if you look it up there, you know, frustration level among young males is totally out of sight. If you look up anything on uh, what Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are dealing with, everybody came through with this wonderful idea that they were going to, all marry models and have a corner office and $250,000 salary. And guess what? If you look like a 3, you're not going to get a 10. I'm sorry. I had to come to that realization early in life. I barely made a 3. I was a fire hydrant that was crooked. But, you know, when I was coming through, God, when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, all you had to do was save, a girl from a brontosaurus stepping on her, and, you fell in love. That's a joke, by the way. Brontosaurus. Never mind. So, but now everybody's into this image, right? This one guy was telling the story how he's a janitor in a federal building. So what is he making? 40, 50,000? And to impress women, he has a friend that has a limo, and he acts like a billionaire when he picks them up, when he goes on a date. You should see that his ad on these dating websites. He had somebody professionally do this because it's really well written. But can you imagine going to that length and expenses just to go on a date? I was hard pressed, take it to a dirty water hot dog stand. It's different cultures, different times of life. Different time, 2025. We still got the mainstream media and all these talking heads talking about black and white issues. Are you serious? I don't understand that either. Let that shit go. It's just division. Let that shit go. There is no more white and black. There is no more Hispanic shit. I don't want to hear it. You say it in front of me, I'm calling you out. Be better. Do better in 2025. You know, if you hear somebody pulling this shit on you, don't react to what they're saying. React to them and say, look, we don't do that anymore. We're better than that. Sit down and I'll buy you a cup of coffee. You can't do it anymore. We can't have the division among the populace, because that's exactly what the shadow state and the backdoor bullies and the Congress want us to be at each other's throat. Also, the people, like that run all these worldwide organizations, as long as there's turmoil, we're not watching them, right? So stop fighting among ourselves and take on the real enemy. Because the real enemy is not your black neighbor or the black family you see at Walmart, or the Hispanic family or the Asian family. We're all in the same soup. I never knew I was poor because everybody was poor around me. I grew up poor, but everybody was poor. So there wasn't that kind of pressure and concentration of wealth. Well, I mean, once I got out on my own. I made great money and I did fabulous things from, late 60s, early 70s, all the way up until the mid 80s. I even saw when in the mid 80s, the drug use from the 70s had dropped off so much. You understand? And in the mid 80s, or later 80s, there was things that were dormant for years, drugs. People weren't using them. You can look it up, it's statistically correct. And then 9/11 happened, right? And the CIA in their fucking wisdom, oh, excuse me, in their wisdom, yes, Molly. Um, no, it's not Molly. Andrea, yes, I understand. Got caught. Can't get away with nothing in this house. Anyway, CIA goes in after 9/11 and starts handing out money by the pallet load. And what do? They put it back into poppies. Now all of a sudden, after 9/11, we have this big expansion of the poppy crop. So where's it going to go? It's going to be processed, and then it's going to come into America. They're the only ones that can afford, all the derivatives from the poppy. Now you get it? The CIA is funding both ends of the war. They're funding our friends and they're funding our enemies. That's to the extent that the CIA will go to keep the war machine running, keep manufacturing running all sorts of shells and tanks and armored up Humvees and whatever else, guns, bullets. You have to be really, 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 really involved because every time something over here happens, my first instinct is to look over there. Why? Because I know this is for my attention, but over there is the real thing that's going on. If you could take that to heart, it's called doing the second thing. First thing is you want to look at the bright, shiny thing over here, but do the second thing. See what's going on over here. Usually that's where the action is. That's what they're trying to keep you away from. I often thought that we're like cattle and we did it to ourselves. And that's unfortunate, but it's the truth, and you should always deal with the truth. Dealing with your imagination or your ability to justify things in your mind, you have to be careful of that. That's a false world you're living in. You really have to understand what's going on. And what's going on is we're being manipulated from all ends. And all right, so Trump's coming in. He's going to take care of the government along with Elon and Shibami. Come on. The border czar is going to be pumping aliens out like he's throwing people off the Titanic. You have other problems. You know, we elected these people, and he's put his team together. There's not much we can do about it, right? He's going to do what he does, and we're going to have to ride along and make our comments and have our voices heard. But in that reality, that's how the system's set up. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about you as an individual. Do you think those people on Bourbon Street ever imagined this happening? If you look at the one video, there's like 7 to 9 people running down the street. And then they cut off to the left and run in this bar, except this one redheaded girl. And I mean, she was bright redhead, but that truck missed her by less than a foot. And then she circled around and went to the bar. But find the video. It's so dynamic. It's so interesting to see. I hope this young lady puts that picture up on our wall and thanks God every day that she didn't get killed. I mean, that truck barely missed her. And you can tell because her hair is bright red. I mean, super. I'm not talking red in the color of the dye red. I'm talking about real red hair. And that was, very impressive to me that there was all these people in the street. There were barriers weren't up because they weren't working. Probably somebody forgot to grease them or do the yearly maintenance on them like they were supposed to. Around a around a police car. They went on the sidewalk between the building and the police car. And the police car never moved. Didn't move once. Not even after they heard him accelerate and go down Burbage Street. Is this crazy? Am I the only one that sees the inconsistencies here? That, calls this stuff to light? Because if I am, I'll shut up and go back to drinking my coffee, which my wife just brought me up and, you know, probably has some voodoo magic in it, but that's okay. I've been drinking long enough. I got immunity. So enjoy, my friends. Let's do a little commercial break. I'm Tom Newetner, the conversationalist. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Not share the singer, share the video. Let's talk about St. Jude. St. Jude, St. Jude, St. Jude, St. Jude. Good organization doing great things. Please support them, like and subscribe. Make a donation. Aortic Hope. I hope they get back on a schedule. I kind of feel like I'm jonesing. I'm used to having him on once or twice a day. So after a while, I hope we get back to the routine. Okay. I also want to say thank you to all the guys for a wonderful year at Dunkin' Donuts. We were a little bit out of control today. We had to dial it back, but then again, everybody comes in there not for the coffee, but for our entertainment. At least that's the way I'm selling it. Because Habib, who owns all the Dunkin' Donuts around here, at Mr. Habib, and his wife, very nice people. I sell them on the fact that we're there and that people come in just to see us. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But we are kind of funny. We're actually going to have a pajama day next week. Everybody's going to show up in their pajamas. So you're going to have a bunch of 70, 80-year-old men sitting around in their bunny slippers and their pajamas. That should be fun. I gotta get Swami to let me videotape in the Dunkin' Donuts. They have some policy against it, but I can win them over. I can. I have faith in me. Um, let's talk about some of the other frustrations of life. What the hell is the Fed doing? That's another organization we need to shut down. Interest rates should be floating right around 4%. Why are they up to 7.2? This is scary. How are you manipulating? The market is tanking, and they're still holding on to interest rates. It's counterproductive. If the cost of doing business and the cost of getting a loan is so prohibitive, how does business expand or even maintain? I mean, this is ninth grade economics. I know they don't teach economics anymore, but take it from me. We used to learn this simple economics in the ninth grade while we watched the dinosaurs go past. Anyway, Fred had these little chubby fingers we use for counting. That's Fred Flintstone. Get the joke. Dinosaurs. No. Uh, let's talk about society. Where are we going? Where are we going as a society? We have all these people speaking out. They're here for the first time in my life. We're here in America, and we have all these individual groups wanting not a piece of the pie, but the whole pie. They want autonomy. They actually want to go in like they did in Illinois and some places in Michigan and some places, other places, where they go in and take over a whole town. And they're talking about Sharia law and all this stuff. But it's not only Muslims doing it. You have Koreatown, right? Little Spanish Harlem. You know, we're not coming together. We're segregating, and we're doing it to ourselves. How crazy is that? And people are acknowledging it. Go on the internet, go on YouTube or X or whatever. You can see these people are posting their it's called clothing or modesty shaming, where they are going around in American cities and accosting women that aren't dressed properly. And properly, I mean by that big long thing, the burqa, that covers you from head to toe, including your hands. The only thing you can see is their eyes, and a lot of them have veils over their eyes. They brought all this cultural stuff. You know, a girl can get married at 13. Uh, you know, if women can be sold as chattel, you know, a young girl is worth a lot of money. And this is acceptable. Believe me, in the Arab states, wherever there's sand, is what we used to joke, that is acceptable behavior. You want to divorce your wife? Say it 3 times, put her out on the street. Everybody's happy. You met the requirements. That's crazy. That's what crazy people do. That's what crazy people think. Because there's no reality there. You have a transgender congressperson, and the Speaker of the House says within moments of her being, uh, you know, getting the authorization and being sworn in, they lock down all the bathrooms so she can't use the bathroom of her choice. She has to use the bathroom of everybody else's choice, which I support, but it was a shitty thing to do. You should have had a conference with her beforehand. You didn't need to pass a memorandum what bathroom she could use. That's, you know, that's not kosher, to use my Jewish friends' vernacular. You don't do that to people. You don't make a situation worse when you can just maintain the status quo. Why? Because we have enough shit going on. You got Nancy Pelosi running around. She's going to run for office again. Did somebody indict this broad? I mean, they indicted Trump fast enough. Why can't they indict her? What about Chucky Schumer? Why isn't he being indicted? Reverend Al Sharpton, biggest tax offender in the country, never gets prosecuted. Year after year after year. Where does he know the bodies are buried? I mean, you know, how else do you explain that? When you owe that much, you know, millions of dollars in tax revenues, and you don't get prosecuted for 20 years, almost 30 years now. Explain that one to me like I'm a 5-year-old. I've always been that person that asks the second question. Primary question is what's going on, but the secondary question is why is it going on? Why is this craziness happening? Why is this? all of a sudden people acting out their frustrations. How do you walk onto a subway platform and push a person you don't know in front of a time it perfectly so when he hits the track, the train's going over? Tell me, explain this to me. Do we have that many psychopaths, sociopaths, paths in this world of ours? Have we gone down that rabbit hole so far that when people have an instinct, they just do it? How can a guy at 38 years old with 17 convictions doing a Michael Jackson act in the subways get away with it for 17 years? How's that possible? And then because he's getting more and more aggressive, somebody puts him down. Now they're the bad guy. Where did we stop when it was all of our responsibility? Why did we let that happen until it came to a tragic end? Which I think is perfectly okay because this guy was going to escalate to where he hurt somebody. You know, if we had somebody that was watching the tracks like they should have been, the cops were on breaks, so there was no one on that platform. There was a cop on the other platform on the other side, but he'd have to run all the way down the platform, up the stairs, cross the stairs, down the stairs, and back that whole run. So that poor guy would have been in the pit anyway. But you don't know him, and you push him in front of a train. I remember the days when, carriage or stroller would roll away from the mother or somebody would trip and fall, and there'd be 4 people jumping down to pull this person out before the train got there. Now there's 4 people that pull their phones out. Have we have we moved so far from simple expressions of concern and just pure humanity? Have we moved to the point where all we have to do is turn off the game and everybody comes back to life and we can start over, get our armor again and our better weapons and a car and a couple of buddies? Is that where we are at? Or is everything acceptable? Because, you know, we got all these pedophiles running around, and it seems to me like they're increasing exponentially. Now, I'm not saying this happened, but in the 60s and 70s, guys like that, had sudden impact death syndrome. That's how it was controlled up until mid 80s, 90s when everything became woke. That these people need to be treated. No, 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 no. Even the Romans knew that the pedophiles had to be taken out of society. Pedophiles are a sickness. It's an illness. You lock them up or you give them the choice to take them out. But they don't get better, people. Their lust and their ability to acquiesce to their personal damage, wherever it came from, their father or their mother or some societal thing, they're going to continue to do it. I mean, my wife has a alert on the phone every time a pedophile moves in within, like, I think it's 8 miles, and it's going off all the time. And then she gets these alerts where the person didn't check in. And there's some people that haven't checked in for years. Is the state of New York doing anything about it? No. They document it. This guy might have moved 10 times. I don't get it. When did we acquiesce to not enforcing the laws? You're supposed to check in, and you don't. Find them. You put them in the slammer. Seems pretty simple to me. Maybe it's not. Maybe I see things as they were and not as they are. That's scary for me as a grandfather. And we, for for better or worse, we had a code and a moral uh, basis to make our decisions and to keep our family and friends safe. Because let's face it, the primary issue in America is being safe, being loved, having a job, having a satisfied life. But most men are walking around in a state of frustration and anger, defeated. I'm looking at all these things on the internet and I don't, the amount of men I see or expressions of manhood are very small. And even of that group, I don't believe half of them. I can't believe that there's CIA officers getting on the internet telling their story, how they got into the CIA, what they did, how they lied, all the. First off, the only way you found out about the CIA, anything about the CIA back in the 70s and 80s, was from foreign news services where they were doing shitty stuff in Costa Rica and some journalist down there reported on it. Otherwise, you didn't hear shit about the CIA. Now it's almost a badge of, yeah, I got fired 3 years ago from the CIA because I wouldn't execute Plan CBW XRT. And it was a conflict with my moral values. If you're working for the CIA, your moral values are not my concern because you don't have any. If you're going to be the whole purpose of the agency is to lie, and take it from lying to our friends and overseas to lying to the American people. We've got a problem, people. That adds to the frustration of life. When you know there's stuff going on that you wouldn't approve of, but they're doing it anyway, and they know you wouldn't approve of, but they're doing it anyway, something basic is wrong. And it's not wrong by compartmentalizing, you know, blaming these few people. It's wrong within our society. You know, we don't have that moral compass anymore. Anything goes. Oh yeah, take Bin Laden out, dump his body in the ocean. Who knows? I don't believe a word they said. They probably did do it, but I don't believe it. I believe he's in some dungeon, a hole in Guantanamo. But that's because I've been lied to so much by my government that I don't trust anything they say. All right, let's round this up and get out of it. I understand frustration. I've been frustrated a lot in my life, different reasons, family, friends, business, health wise. But I've always been able to center myself and do the best I could for the greater good. And sometimes that's very hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. And when I was growing up, that was important that your word and your integrity stayed intact. You know, now it seems like everything is washable. You can restart your life even after the most horrendous thing, verbally, physically, however you want to call it. You can execute the most horrendous thing, and there's going to be a group of people that are going to come to your support. Crazy, right? At least I think that's crazy. I think, you know, I was raised with a moral code and now we don't have that. How do we get it back? I have no clue. Thought about it and thought about, wrote copious notes. I can't figure out how you make somebody morally responsible unless they do it for themselves. It's like an alcoholic. You cannot do anything for an alcoholic until they're ready to do it for themselves. And I think people having a moral code is about the same thing. I always enjoy seeing other people's point of view, even when I totally disagree or it makes me angry because it's something totally, against my moral code. But I still enjoy the interaction, the conversation, because arguing doesn't get us anywhere, right? And that's what we're doing right now. The media and Biden and his group that are still in office are arguing with, all the Trump people, and they're not focusing on taking care of the country. Look at Biden, almost 2,000, over 2,000 pardons and commuting of sentences. But look at all the money he's spending. He's sending more money to Ukraine. I, Biden is we're so worried about Trump. Biden is the president of the United States. You get that? For the next 16, 17 days. I forget how much. But he can do a lot of damage. Why, if you're the president of the United States, would you take that road? Are you that vindictive? Are you that out of touch? Why is Hillary Clinton not arrested? Pelosi, Schumer. Why have these people not been arrested or indicted at least? Because they know they've been in politics the last 40 years and they know where all the bodies are buried? Well, shit, start digging those bodies up. See where they lead us. Because I, for one, am tired and frustrated, just like everybody else is, with the lack of progress. And now the determination to make it even worse by the present administration and the bureaucracy. I don't know why that group of people would see this as an opportunity to have lasting destruction of whatever's left. How is that going to make you feel when you're out of office in 16 days and you're sitting on your rocking chair and your legacy is you tried to destroy the whole of America in your last 3 weeks? I posed that question to the Dunkin' Donuts boys, and there was dead silence. Dead silence. In fact, we went to a different topic because nobody wanted to deal with it, which, is great when you're a 6-year-old or to 12-year-old. If you got a problem, you just pick it up and bring it to dad or mom and they solve it. But, you know, we're 70 to 80 years old. We can't pass it off to anybody else. We need to solve this problem. And the we is the collective we the people. All right. So we've already established that my third wife is not going to be a 10. And most guys are not going to marry 10s or even 5s. So that's frustrating. Most guys aren't going to make $1 bazillion. That's frustrating. Most guys are going to go through life. Every 10 years, they get a 3-day vacation because they can't afford it. Every time you go to the grocery store, you're scraping pennies out of your pocket. $5 for a dozen of eggs. Who would have thunk that? I remember when eggs were like 15 cents a dozen. But that's again when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. However, just a year ago, they were $3 a dozen, and a year before that, they were $1.29. And now they're $5 a dozen. Those are prices that we used to see in Alaska, not in upstate New York. I understand the frustration. I understand the acting out. I just wish it was controllable so it didn't heighten and destroy more. We have to figure out a way to express our frustration with the American dream. And that's what we're talking about, the American dream. People feel like they're never going to achieve it. And they like blaming each other. Oh, the boomers own all the real estate, have all the money. Gen X just doesn't cooperate with anybody. Millennials are out to lunch. Gen Z is like ill prepared. We can come up with every excuse in the world, but why? Why don't we just come together and put the pieces of the puzzle back together again and make this thing work? I don't know. Is there so much conflict? And the mainstream media and the politicians keep stirring the pot that we're never going to come together as we the people? I pose the question because we left Dunkin' Donuts with more questions than answers this day. And that's the way I'm feeling right now. I have more questions than answers. I imagine a lot of people do right now, and there's a lot of fear and anxiety what's going to transpire in the next 3 weeks. If we've got people running people down in the streets and shooting up and IEDs and trucks being blown up in front of hotels, we have these mass shootings. We had nothing sacred. I mean, you got people stabbing people, people running them down with trucks, and people pushing them in front of trains. So anything could be a weapon, right? And it's on the spur of the moment. At least it looks to me. Now, when I say spur of the moment, it might be a week or two, but it's not a lifelong decision, is what I'm saying. It's a localized individual that is finding some meaning in their lives, so they do these outrageous things. Ladies, I don't blame anyone for this problem, but I will say that if you're standing on the side and you're looking for Prince Charming to come down the road, he's not coming. I'm sorry to say that. Even Prince Charming, that 6'3" guy that you like, 208 pounds of pure manhood. There's very few of them. The ones that aren't taken are gay. Sorry to tell you that. Maybe I'm the first one to tell you that, but the truth is, there's not enough of those guys to go around, and there certainly isn't enough of the 8s, 9s, and 10s to go around to satisfy everybody. So we got to figure this out, people. We're the adults in the room. We can't just say, like the kids, get frustrated, throw the toy on the ground, and walk away. We have to fix this. We need to have a plan. Just like Trump has a plan for the federal government, we, the people, need a plan to live with each other and be accepting of our differences, be accepting of the changes that have to be made. Otherwise, like the Roman Empire, the American Empire will be gone. We will transition into some cut up third world of warring factions. And instead of having a state where they do knitting, or a state that does cooking, or a state that does arts and crafts, we're going to have states of people that just are mean and frustrated at one level or another. And we always laugh about we're hillbillies here and everybody down south is rednecks, but we're the same people. We act the same, we talk the same, but because we live in the hills, we're hillbillies. Southerners are rednecks. because they used to get sun on their neck. Isn't that funny? Something as simple as burning sunburn on your neck, and you get a label. We get a label because they tell us that one leg is always shorter than the other from walking on the side of a hill. Not true, by the way. All right, friends. I love you. We have opportunity in this new world of 2025. We can be better. We can do better. We can do act of kindness. We can do all the things that it takes to get us back on the right track. We just have to want to do it. We just have to make that accommodation. We have to do the second thing. We want to scream at this person for whatever reason, but do the second thing. Figure out a way to say it and discuss it rather than arguing or getting into a fist fight or pulling a gun or a machete. See that guy in Louisiana pulled out that machete? Oh my God. That thing was 3 feet long. He was chasing people down the street over a simple traffic accident. You know, people are frustrated. All right. I'm Tom Newetner, the conversationalist. I appreciate every one of you. I really hope that 2005 is a good year for you. If you got some comments, I'd love to read them. We're gonna have a sign up soon for people to come on the broadcast. I actually have 4 names already, so we want about a dozen so we can have a rotation. And let's get started in the new year. Once again, Tom Newetner. Like, subscribe, share, ring the bell. Be good, be better, do better. I'm Tom Newetner, and out.